You're listening to the Creator Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and this is episode number 57. Welcome, my beautiful friends, to the podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and I am a life and business coach who helps people who want to make a difference find and show up for their beautiful purpose. So again, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you all. And today we're talking about an awesome topic, which is confidence and having the courage to be seen. So let me dive straight into this episode. I believe that confidence is actually all about having the courage to be seen. This is something that is relevant for you, whether you are running a business, have a creative project, or are trying to up-level in any way in your life. We need to be able to tap into our courageous superpower muscles in order to show up confidently. Now, confidence, and you might have heard me talk about this before, is really just a mindset. It's not something that we either have or don't have. Many people see me and they think, you're really confident. I am not a naturally confident person. I have all the same fears as you. In fact, we all have all of the same fears. I started this podcast because I really wanted to get used to talking in a public way, and I was so scared of even talking around other people in person that I thought, hey, the podcast would be a great way to get started. And now I run events, I do speaking events in front of big audiences, and I still feel the fear, but I stand up courageously before those audiences, before you here on videos, on lives, to be judged, and I'm okay. I feel the fear and I do it anyway, and that's what being courageous is all about. So I want to offer to you that a confidence and creating a confident mindset or choosing confidence in a moment is something that every single one of us has the capability to do and to choose. Now, our biggest fear, or one of our biggest fears that I believe, is this fear of being seen for who we really are, being exposed in some way, being judged by other people. And it all comes back to this fear that we're not really good enough, that we're not worthy. And I feel this is a very big one for women in particular. And so we need to think about why that is. Why do we have this fear of being seen, of being exposed? As always, with all of our fears, our brain is operating super efficiently. It hasn't evolved up to deal with what the current actual threats are. And so we're dealing with this very old brain and way of operating that's just been so ingrained into our systems for forever. And one of the threats to our survival back in the day was literally not belonging in the community, in the society that we belong to. If we were different, if we spoke out, if we didn't conform to the society, we would literally die, right? We would be dead. We would be as good as dead. We needed to be with a community, with our tribe in order to survive. And so this is where I believe we have this innate desire to belong. And what we discover, and through beautiful work such as Brené Brown, who I'm always referencing in her work, Braving the Wilderness, which is one of her books that I absolutely adore, she talks about how we all have this innate desire for belonging. To fit in is what we believe belonging is, to fit in with the community around us, with our peers. However, whenever we're trying to fit in, that implies that we're giving up aspects or parts of ourselves in order to fit in, to be accepted by the group around us. And thus, our feeling for belonging still remains, even though on the outside it looks like we are belonging to this group. The reason we don't actually feel like we belong is because we're not showing up as our authentic selves. I love this message and it resonates with me so deeply. And I feel, being a woman and surrounded by women, that this is something that is really important for us to all to address. We have this desire to fit in with the people around us, and at the same time, we have an even deeper desire to be able to show up in our circles, in our life, as our true self. But we've learned from a very young age, and it's even more deeply ingrained into our subconscious, that has something that has been cultivated even before we even took our first breath in this lifetime. We have this desire to fit in and to belong. And so we give up parts of ourselves. We say, hey, you're not good enough as you are. The way that you've come into this world isn't good enough. You've got to try and be something else so that you can make the most of this life, and so that people will like you, and so that you'll belong and progress and succeed. So from a very young age, and probably right from the get-go, we have this deeply ingrained in us. And so we start learning how to be wonderful people at acting, trying to be someone else. And we put ourselves through a lot of struggle through this identity crisis with who we are and who we believe we should be. And so we go about our life with this fear of being exposed, of being seen for who we truly are, believing underneath all of that we aren't good enough, that we will literally not be able to survive if we are seen for who we really are. Hands up if you've felt this before in any way. It's so unbelievable and hard to comprehend at first when we think about this concept, because it goes hand in hand with actually being successful. If we want to be successful, we've got to be seen, right? We've got to be seen as a leader. We've got to be seen for our communities. We've got to be recognized by others. We've got to show up. And we've got to show up as ourselves. That's authentic leadership anyway. So we've got to be seen in a really big and real way. And yet we have this evolutionary part of ourselves that's telling us that no, being seen is dangerous. You're going to expose yourself. And it literally could mean your own death, your own destruction. And so that's the ego there. So, on the one hand, we really, 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 really want to grow and evolve. We want to fulfill our potential, our purpose. We want to make a difference. We want to go out there and do amazing things that our soul is begging us to do. And all of that requires you to be seen, to expand. And it also requires you to be seen when you're not following your soul or your heart, and you're simply trying to succeed, to get ahead, to get out there. So you'll come up with the same limitations, because that's going to involve you being seen as well, even if it might not necessarily be being seen for your authentic self. You will still experience this. Every single one of us will have experienced this. But when it comes to showing up and being seen truly as ourselves, we feel like there is a lot to lose. When you feel like you're acting, you're trying to fit in with someone else's expectations, then you can easily blame the other people around you. Well, society told me I needed to be like this. My parents told me I needed to be like this. My teachers told me I needed to be like this. When it's down to, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I believe, and I'm standing here, I'm standing up here as myself, well, then you've only got yourself to blame, or so we believe. Of course, all of this is coming from the fear mind. It's not coming from where we all are really should come from and what our original source is, which is a full representation and embodiment of love. That's our abundant mind. So we start off, we come into this world as this innocent child who's there to, be nurtured, to be looked after. It's so vulnerable. And yet you're able to fully express yourself exactly as you want to be. You cry when you need to cry. You laugh when you need to laugh. And as we grow up, we're then socialized to say, hey, no, don't cry, don't cry. You can be happy here and you've got to be angry here. This is okay, that's not okay. This is what's acceptable, that's not acceptable. This is what you've got to do to succeed in life. This is what you do not to succeed in life. And we get all of these rules and limitations put upon us. So we start, just as we're learning to, get out there, to start walking, we're literally learning to do something differently to what we innately desire. So we're already being manipulated. Okay, so this is where this fear of being seen comes from. And actually, I believe, and many other people do too, that this fear of being seen is the core fear behind all of our other fears. If you ask yourself whenever you're feeling afraid about something, whenever you're feeling resistant, whenever you notice yourself engaging in buffering behavior like over drinking, like overeating, emotional eating, shopping too much, gossiping, never having any time to yourself, when you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Most likely you'll get the answer that you're afraid or something, a variation of that. Now you ask yourself, well, why am I afraid? And you'll get an answer. The key is to continue to ask why. So you get the first answer, why am I afraid? Because you're afraid of losing whatever. Okay, why am I afraid of losing whatever it is? And then you wait for that answer, and then you question it again, and you continue to question it to get back to what the root is behind that belief. Now, it's quite a sneaky fear, this one, because we know that we need it to be successful, and you look at what success means to you, and for many of us, it's about sharing our voice. We want to be able to show up in circles and just show up as ourselves and be accepted. We want to be able to share our message and feel confident in doing that. We want all of these things, and yet at the same time, it's what we most fear because of this fear of being seen, because of this fear, this innate core fear of not being good enough, of not being worthy. And we all have this. So it's all happening because our brain's simply trying to protect us. So don't look at your brain and think, oh my gosh, you are so annoying, because actually it's a beautiful masterpiece and it's just doing its job. What it means though is you are not your fears. You're not your thoughts. You're not your fears. You're not even your feelings. You're the bit that is able to observe what's happening here. So we get this feeling of fear. We get these thoughts that are all centered around fear, that try to keep us small, to stop us from being seen, to stop us from showing up for our business, our message, our creative projects, from the person that we truly are. And at the same time as all of that is going on in your mind, you are able to observe and choose to act, think, and feel differently. So it's a simple choice, a decision that we make to feel confident, to be confident, to take actions that represent confidence. And in that moment, as you make that decision to feel the fear and do it anyway, to tap into your courage super muscles, we then start to create and cultivate confidence. And then the more we put ourselves in these situations where we are showing up as ourselves, the more we share our message, the more we take steps forward in our business, in our creative projects, in our life, in the areas that we believe are up-leveling and exposing us to criticism and judgment. The more we take those actions, the more we start to feel naturally and automatically more confident or courageous. So we start to develop a mastery in that area. And then what that means is that your upper limit increases. So what's going to actually start firing off all of these fear-based response is lifted a little bit higher. And then the next time you put yourself out of your comfort zone, so that becomes your new normal, your new comfort zone. And then the next time you step out of that comfort zone and do something new and show up in an even bigger way, in a way where you're seen even more as a leader, as a business owner, or for who you really are, the deeper you go with that journey, you'll have this choice again, moving through the discomfort, noticing the discomfort, and choosing to take the steps that embody confidence, the thoughts that embody confidence, and to show up and be seen anyway. Now, I'll tell you a little story, which I have shared on one of our episodes before, but I'll share it again. I was looking at my podcast numbers one day, which is something I don't do very often, but I was looking at it for a particular reason, and I noticed that one of my episodes had at least 4 times the amount of downloads than my average sort of numbers are. In that moment, I observed myself, rather than being extremely happy that was the case, that I'd had this huge boost in these numbers and being like celebrating myself, the opposite actually happened. I felt immediate fear in my body. Like my whole body was just afraid. It's like, I don't want that to happen. Why would I think that? Why would I feel that if getting my message out there to more people and more people resonating with it is what I've been working towards? It's what I'm growing here in this business, in this community. It's one of my goals to get the message out there. So why then, when what we want happens, do we then feel afraid? This is a common occurrence, but it was one that was easily and is easily overlooked. So I noticed that in that moment, and my immediate action was to start investigating why this was wrong, why it was just some glitch in the system. But the lesson that I got from this was that, oh my gosh, my biggest fear here is my fear of being seen. And that's when I started to work on this fear. I realized that in order to show up in the work that I want to do and to be the leader that I want to be in my life and for my community, for my clients, in order to make the difference that I want to make in the world, in order to go to my next level of success, my personal definition of success, I needed to be seen in a bigger way, in a deeper way, and I needed to, move through this. So I realized that I needed to make the decision that I was going to be seen, that I was going to stand out in my life, that I wasn't going to dim my light anymore. I was going to shine. This decision that I've made has changed me forever in the way that I show up. Of course, it's a decision that I need to remind myself of time and time again. Every time I step out of my comfort zone or my new normal, I'm then asked to remind myself of this decision, to be able to feel the fear and choose courage in that moment so that I can be confident. I can show up confidently, so I can choose confidence in this moment. So I ask you to reflect in your life on how being seen feels to you. What are the thoughts that come up when you think of being seen fully in your life? Imagine you're standing in a big open area. Maybe you're in the middle of like a stadium or a hockey field, one of those ice hockey stadiums. You're in the middle. There's a whole crowd of people around you, and you're standing in the middle with a spotlight shining down on you, and you're naked. And we're going to use this as a metaphor, as in people can see you for who you really are. You're literally naked. You're showing up as your most authentic self. You feel exposed because you've got all the attention on you and you're in this arena. Now, in that moment, you've got two choices. You can look at this as an opportunity to share your message and your truth, or you can look at it as a horrible situation where you retreat and you hide. You try to cover yourself. You cover your truth. You withhold your message. Perhaps you put on the coat next to you and you pretend to be someone else. Or maybe you look around at the crowd and you ask them, what do they want? What do you want me to be? Who would you like me to be? And the trouble with that is that we stand and we look around at this crowd and we're so scared of judgment and what people think. And so we ask them, okay, look, you want me to jump? I'll jump. You want me to dance? I'll dance. What do you want me to do? You'll never get any consensus from anyone. But you stand there in your truth. You feel the fear and you choose courage and you show up confidently, which for me is really just embracing who you really are, being seen for who you really are. And you start sharing your truth. You share what you stand for. That is going to inspire so many people. And that's what we need to be for our clients in our business, in our communities. That's what we need to be for our friends, our family, our parents, our children, in our life. We've got to be the leader. We've got to be the leader of our own life. We've got to be the person that chooses to stand in our truth. We've got to be the person that decides they're here to be seen, that you're here to make a difference, that you're here to stand out. Our clients, for all of you beautiful people who have a business, our clients and the people that we serve, they're there waiting for you to show up and be seen. They need you to be seen so that they can find you. You can't help anyone unless you're putting yourself out there. And so you need to remind yourself that this response, this automatic response that we have to being seen, it's not about us. It's just a way that our brains have developed. It's simply a feeling. It's a feeling and a thought. It's a relationship that we've created that's automatically firing in our brain. And we didn't decide that. It's just something that we learned. And so in this moment, you get to decide, is that something that actually supports me? You can do the downloads that I love. Look at what your thoughts are. Ask yourself, is this a thought that supports me? If it's not, and you can look at the emotions it's creating in your life, the actions it's creating, and then the results you're creating. And then you can ask yourself, okay, well, how could I shift this so at least my thoughts, or at the very least, my thought represents the facts. And then you can shift it even further and have your thoughts reflecting what you actually want. So for instance, the thought might be, I cannot be seen. I absolutely cannot be seen. Shifting to that to represent the facts is, I am seen. I am being seen. Like right now, this person's seeing me, that person's seeing me, that person's seeing me. And then you can shift it to make it even more positive, to reflect what you want. I enjoy being seen. I enjoy standing here in my truth. I love being seen. It's great to be seen. And you'll see that your emotions change accordingly to however you shift those thoughts. Okay? So A thought is just a thought. A feeling is just a feeling. An action is just an action. We've got to shift the perspective so that we can see that what we're running our lives from, most of us, are these fears, these automatic fears that our brains have evolved in this way. And you can decide that that's not a good enough reason to run your life using that fear mind. You're the bit that gets to notice that you've got a choice. You're the bit that can see what you're thinking. You're the bit that can describe and notice how you're feeling. So using that part of you, you can decide to think, feel, and act differently. And this is what confidence is all about. And this is what having the courage to be seen is all about. You feel the fear and you move forward anyway in your truth. You show up for your clients. You show up for the message that you're here to share. You show up for your gifts. You allow yourself to be seen. We're our biggest enemies in life, and that's a good thing because it means we have the power to change our circumstances. And this is what lights me up. Every single one of us, we have the power to change our circumstances, no matter where we are in our life. I've done it, and I know that you can too. So, my beautiful friends, I hope you've enjoyed this episode all about confidence and having the courage to be seen. Take a moment to get out your journal, to ask yourself how you feel about being seen. And then what you can do now to decide to be seen and show up confidently in your life and in your truth. When you're growing and expanding in your business, it will be from this small fear mind that will keep you really teeny tiny. Which brings me to, if you are interested in up-leveling in your business, you want to be seen more, you want to increase your visibility and your impact, you're ready to truly make a difference, you want to get out there, take action, and you want to have a high vibe group of women around you to do that, to help you with your accountability, creativity, with your mindset, with coming up with innovative solutions for your community and your business, then please check out the MMB Mastermind, which is my business mastermind for those of you looking to grow in your business. I'm so excited. We're getting started in just a couple of weeks on the 21st of May, and you can find out all about it by going to www.leticiaringe.com/MMB Mastermind. Then you can follow the prompts there to apply, and we'll book in a call to discuss how this suits you and your business and where you're at. All right, my friends, I'm so excited to hear more of you and your stories about showing up after you make this decision to be seen, to stand out, to shine as you, and how that helps you show up in your life for your beautiful dreams, the businesses you're creating, the creative projects you're bringing to life. I want to hear it all. So please let me know over on the gram at Leticia Ringe. Send me a message and share your stories with me. And otherwise, I will be back next week with another episode to help you unlock your truth and purpose. Lots of love. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. If you feel called, I would love it if you could please take a minute to rate and review this podcast on iTunes. This helps other people like you find it. And I also invite you to take a moment to share this episode with a friend you know needs to hear it.